I'm Branka Panic with this strange surname that in English sounds panic, which many say it's quite useful when you work in the sphere of artificial intelligence and peace, which is what I decided to do to open an organization that is working in the field of AI for peace and trying to explore two sides of this power game in a way, trying to see how these systems sometimes bring risks to peacefulness of our societies, but also how we can maybe take the power back as communities and use some of these technologies to work as peace builders and create more peaceful societies. So this is actually, I call it a socially engaged project where I plan to invite the audience, including all of you in the Build Up community, to engage in this debate on exploring different layers of this unseen in the Algo age. And we were invited by organizers to, in a way, situate our talks as well in a certain physical space. For me, that was very difficult to do because I'm really working globally and try to cover many issues across the world. But if I have to think about situating this, maybe even in a temporal way, that would be this algo space or algo age. So this is basically the age of algorithms or artificial intelligence, and I believe sometimes we are not maybe aware of this, but algorithms are all around us, in your phone, in your laptop. It's definitely the world that is shaped in many ways by them, and sometimes even in unseen ways. So I will present 3 digital pieces as a motivation more to discuss and to create this dialogue about the sometimes dangerous power dynamics and sometimes those that are even brought again to us in our societies through the power of algorithms. There is another thing I'm trying to do through this project, and that is uncover how the same unseen are often exploited communities, as I said, can take the power back through designing new forms of AI, and this is what I'm hoping to do now, to send an invitation as well to think how we can do that. And I actually met some of you throughout the day who are already doing this, and this is an invitation to look at some of the exhibitions in the first floor that are doing exactly that, taking the power back through combining algorithms and art and technology. So I shaped this around 3 digital art pieces, and I call them the tales. My intention is not to make you sleep, not the tales of that type. But the first tale I titled Taino Roots, and this is basically the first piece that was created with the help of artificial intelligence, with a deep learning model, which is using an image processing of an existing art piece, and then combining this with style images that I was collecting through my own photography that I did when I lived in Puerto Rico. And Dominican Republic, which are basically some of the Caribbean places where native Taino people lived and still live. So this portrait I'm saying I'm creating in celebration of Taino indigenous people who for 5 centuries after meeting Spaniards still experienced in a way those colonial practices and again these power dynamics in a way that is now happening not directly through a certain country, but sometimes through a certain company as well. So I'm inviting just through this art piece to all of us to think about new forms of those who are having the data about us and sometimes not having the data about us just because we are not present. And again, calling for taking the power back in our own hands. And here I'm putting the space for another group that I worked with to be visible in this space, which is basically Indigenous Artificial Intelligence Group. So this is Indigenous Protocol, an AI group of indigenous people who sat together and who claimed their own space and said, we want to be visible in this space, not only in terms of researching how these technologies are impacting us as indigenous people, but also trying to use the technology ourselves. So this is actually a movement of data scientists who are trying to preserve their own languages. This is a group of people who are using natural language processing to make sure that their languages don't die just because certain organizations that have power decided that English or sometimes German or Italian or big languages that are spoken in the world will be the only ones that will survive in a digital space. So the second tale takes us in a little bit different direction. So the title of this tale is False Positive, and many in this room, people who are actually working in the space of technologies and artificial intelligence, are probably familiar with this case and with the predominant use of facial recognition technologies in policing. So this portrait was created to demand new power dynamics in the algo age, in the age of algorithms. And this piece was inspired basically by a real-life story of a person who was falsely committed about the crime that he did not commit. He was basically flagged through the facial recognition system as somebody who committed the crime. He was arrested, and then it was proven that actually the system was wrong. So why I'm inviting now thinking in another direction as well, because in certain cases, seen or unseen has a different dimension as well. And especially in the world of data, in big data, being overseen is actually not a good thing. Overseen can mean being surveilled. Overseen means that in this specific case, in general, in policing, these systems are being built with historical data where certain groups of people have been intentionally targeted, and now these systems are flagging them again as people of higher risks just because we are using this historical faulty data. Again, to switch the power in our own hands and try to see how we can actually use these systems in a way, satirical way, showing how these systems are faulty. I wanted to bring to this room the specific project called White Collar Crime Early Warning System. And this actually project turns the story around and trying to ask, why are we always policing those traditional crimes or small crimes? Why don't we look actually at white collar crime? Why don't we look at a financial crime? Let's collect the data and see what these systems can flag for us. What are the areas of risk? So this is actually the real map created through this system, which is showing Manhattan. This is New York, and maybe if I did the print screen a little bit south, you would see the Wall Street. So just showing how we are also making decisions, right? Power is in our hands. Who are we going to evaluate through this system, and which data are we going to use and why? And this group is even going a step further, again, exposing satirically facial recognition systems and trying to train the model to show us who will be the person of a risk in white-collar crime, financial crime. And this is basically the picture that is flagging who is the person of risk. The third tale, which I have to end, but this is the last sentence because I think it's really important to mention that this piece was created following the entire revolution in the art that was created since Build Up announced the conference to this day. So I'm using completely different methodology here of stable diffusion, a different type of art, just wanting to emphasize that sometimes even nature is that one, or the planet can be the unseen, and I would like us to bring more in our conversations, maybe instead of human-centered technologies and human-centered artificial intelligence, where we are putting the safety and the needs of a human in the center, to maybe collectively try to switch to putting the planet in the center and having a planet-centered AI. Thank you so much for your time.